So basically, in a previous example, we have seen how we can create a basic enumeration and how we can utilize within a consumer or a class where we need those constant declarations. Now, in this particular snippet, we are going a little bit more advanced where we are going to introduce how we can have constructors within enumerations, where we can have public methods, we can have static methods, and we can even support abstract methods. Now, this becomes a bit interesting when we talk about abstract methods being present in an enum declaration. So we are not going to provide the implementation of the method. It is just the signature because it is abstract. And let's say enumeration has three different constant values that it can construct, and each have its own implementation of that method. So this is quite a big deal, and there are various use cases where this can really be quite helpful. So in this example, we are just going to cover our snippet, which will show and demonstrate to you how these features are kind of put together. In this enumeration called operation, we are seeing that there are two constants. One is addition and one is subtraction, and it is actually calling a constructor. And to the constructor, we are passing one single argument called opcode, which is a specified string. In addition, it's a plus, and in subtraction, it is a minus. So if we see within this enumeration, we are going to get this constructor, which is accepting this opcode, and then it is taking this opcode to initialize this particular immutable field called operation code. Next, what we see is each of these constants has its own unique implementation of the solve method. So if we go down, we will see that there is a abstract declaration of this solve method, and then it is up to each of the constants to provide the definition for this method. So this is kind of analogous to the way interfaces work with classes, where we declare the methods that we would like to implement and declare them in the interface, and then implement the interface in a class where we have to provide a unique implementation for that particular interface method. Next, if we see that we have overridden the toString method, which actually just returns the operation code, and then we have a public getter method which also returns the operation code. So you can use either of these two methods to kind of get the value of the operation code for a particular constant. And we also have a static method. So while discussing static, let me just put it out there that you cannot invoke this method using any of these constants. So if you want to invoke this static method, you have to use the actual enumeration name. So these are the functionalities that we are kind of offering in our enumerations, and let's see how we can put it together in a client application. So we have operation client and a main method. Here we are taking two numbers 10 and 4. So as you can see, if we want to add the two numbers, the addition of those two numbers will be done by this constant using this method solve, which is going to accept two integers, and then it will print the sum of both the integers. And if we are using the subtraction constant from this enumeration, it also has the same implementation, the same method, and using that it will print out the difference of those two numbers. So in this case, we have fetched the first constant from our enumeration operation, and using this, we are going to invoke the solve method by passing both the numbers, and it should print out the value of the summation of these two numbers. Same for the subtraction. So again, on subtraction, if you call the solve method, it will print out the difference between these two numbers. Now, if you don't want this repetitive way of fetching each of the constants and then invoking the method on each of them, you can also resort to using the for each loop, which iterates over the values property, and values basically will give you reference to all the constants declared within the operation enumeration. So it will be addition and then subtraction. And while you're looping on each of these constants, you invoke the solve method, which does basically the same thing which these lines are achieving. And lastly, we can call the static method using the name of the enumeration. And let's run our code. And we can see that the first two lines came from these lines. So these got executed and we got the output printed here. So for addition, it's adding both the numbers, and for subtraction, it is printing out the difference of both the numbers. Now, when we are actually running this loop, it achieves the same thing. We still get the addition and the subtraction of both the numbers. And then finally, we are calling the static method using the enumeration name.